I am your professor Dibyajyoti Bhattacharya from the Department of Statistics, Assam University. Uh, so let us look at primary data. What is primary data? Let us get a proper definition of primary data. The data that is collected for the first time for a specific purpose is called as the primary data. Here the researcher collects the data by himself or by people appointed by him, and this is the first time that the data is collected, and then this data is tabulated, presented by that individual only. Such data are called as primary data. When one decides to collect the primary data for any type of study, it is important to answer some questions, because that will decide about the data. First is that who are the individuals who will be considered in the population. That is the people from whom the sample will be drawn and from whom the information will be collected. Next question is, what is the type of data that will be collected? This depends on the objective of the study. Once the population is defined, the researcher will either draw a sample from the population or contact each and individual member of the population and collect the information from them. So what type of information is to be collected? That is to be decided beforehand. Next comes the point when the data will be collected. This is a very important issue because this data decides the course of further discussion. That is the time at which the data will be collected. When next is from where the data will be collected, whether the enumerator or the researcher himself or herself, or the enumerator appointed by the researcher, where they will go to collect the data. Whether they will collect the data uh, by visiting the individuals at their residence, whether the data will be collected from their workplace, etc. So that is what is to be decided. Now, after before collecting each and every information, it is important to know why this information is necessary for collecting the data. This actually limits the amount of information that is collected, and each and every uh, question or statement of the questionnaire has a logic for being included in that particular study. And next comes the way of data collection. The way in which the data is to be collected, whether it will be through a questionnaire, whether it will be through a schedule, whether it will be only through observation, whether it will be through interviewing and other means that we will see subsequently, are also to be decided. Now, primary data is generally expensive because the researcher himself, herself, or if the study area is large, then the researcher might even include some enumerator or appoint some enumerator who does the work in his behalf of data collection. So this becomes an expensive affair because you need to train the individuals if you are using some individuals for data collection. In addition to this training program, there will be other items of expenditure like providing these individuals remuneration for collecting the information or working in your behalf. Also, once the data is collected, they are to be scrutinized. Once the scrutiny over, then this data is to be inputted into a computer for further data analysis. Data is to be tabulated, presented, report is to be prepared. So the entire work has to be done by the researcher, and so this is often an expensive affair and generally takes lot of time from the day one, that is when you plan the program, and then execute it till the report preparation. So this is a quite time consuming affair. So primary, these you may consider two big disadvantages of primary data, or you may tell two difficulties that a researcher faces when they deal with primary data. By the way, let us have a discussion on secondary data also. The secondary data is compiled by someone else and the researcher uses the data for his or her own purpose. This information of secondary data, though not mandatory, but generally available in a published and a structured format, which might not satisfy the requirement of the current researcher, but that is how the data might be available. Secondary data are generally easy to collect and manage because this is already compiled and presented in a tabular form. These days, there are some thing called as data product. That is, some organization, institution, they actually take charge some price for you for getting access to their data, or they might show a particular level of the data for free, but subsequently if you want more data and detailed information, then you have to enter into their website through some login credentials which are actually priced. So this way data is charged in some of the cases. Other than that, the primary data, sorry, secondary data are generally available for free and are easier to manage because these are already in tabular format. It is interesting to note that the data that is primary to in the hands of one becomes secondary in the hands of other. For example, the information that is collected, for example, Ministry of Health conducts a survey called as National Family Health Survey, NFHS. After a period of 3 to 5 years, they repeat the survey so that you can understand about the health conditions, execution of different health programs, attack of different diseases in the community, women, data related to children's health actually uh, are also available through this survey. Now, this survey is conducted by National Family Health Survey, executed by uh, International Institute of Population Studies in Mumbai. Now, the funding agency, that is Ministry of Health, for them, the data is the primary data. Now, if I use that particular data for writing a report or for writing a research paper, then that data becomes secondary to me. But it is primary to the Ministry of Health, as Ministry of Health funds the data and they basically own the data. So this is an interesting example to see that the data which is primary to one becomes secondary to someone else. Now let us look at different sources of secondary data. First, there are documentary sources of data. Documentary sources of data are those data which are in published form, and electronic sources of data. That is those data which are available in electronic form, generally available in the internet. So these are two basic sources of secondary data. Now, in case of secondary data, which is in published form in newspaper, magazines, journals, unpublished PhD dissertations, government reports, semi-government reports, information available in the municipalities for their annual report, annual report of the companies. These are all examples of published secondary data. However, most of the things are these days available in the internet because they also in parallel to the hard copy of the data set might also have electronic copies available in the internet, which are the electronic sources of data. Now let us look at some precautions which you need to take care of while you deal with secondary data. Now first is the suitability of the secondary data. Suppose suppose I am trying to study that what are the benefits that a company is giving to its employees. Now, in addition to the salary, the company might give several other benefits like, say, medical services are there. There is a hospital which provides free service or free consultation and to certain extent free medication, uh, minor operations to the employees also. So this is a benefit because everyone at some point of time need to consult the doctor because of health issues. So they would not only consult the doctor for free, but also is in a position where they get the medicine, where they get small OT services, etc. The institute also provides transportation facilities to the employees at different hours of the day for moving from the institute or the say their uh, campus of that particular organization to the city, nearby city. So this is an added benefit. In addition to that, they also have some schools built for the children of the employees working there. So these schools actually provide education to the children of the staff at a very less expense. So this also saves lot of money of the employees. So these are different benefits that the organization is giving to its employees. But the data that I have with me from secondary source is only speaks about the salary. That means other perks that the candidates are getting, employees are getting from the organization is not available with me. So I want to study the benefits that along with salary, the other benefits that the organization is offering to its employees. But the data that I have from secondary sources is not suitable for my study because I have data on salary only. Now, since I don't have sufficient amount of resources to perform a primary study to collect the information, I have to apply the secondary data, which speaks only about the salary. So instead of going deep into the other benefits that the employees are getting, I have to restrict me only to the salary of the employees. So this is one big disadvantage that secondary data has. Next is the reliability of the secondary data. Even if I have the full data on whatever I want to study from a secondary source, I cannot guarantee the reliability of the data set because the data was collected by someone else who reports the data in his or her own way. And so I am not in a position to understand how this data is going to help. So the reliability of the data set always remains in under question. It is not an issue of unbiasedness of the previous researcher who collected the data primarily, but there might be some unwanted errors which might have crept in during tabulation of the data. And how much accurate the measurements were and what were the methods in which the measurement were taken, that also might not be quite clear to me. So these are the some places where the reliability of the secondary data is always under question. Next come adequacy of the secondary data. Now adequacy means whether the data adequately represents data is means say data is suitable for my study and data is also free of error. It is reliable. Say both the disadvantage do not exist in reality. But the data may not be adequate in the sense that it may not give me the full requirement in terms of the coverage. For example, I want to study the performance of Indian states on some socio-economic parameters. Now, I have the data, but not for all the Indian states. I have two or three states going missing from each of the region. From north, two states are not providing me information. From the south, one or two states not providing the information. So like this, from different parts of India, some states go missing. So I cannot make a claim that this data set represents the entire India because I can tell that it is from select states of India. But I cannot say that it represents entire India because information from the some of the states are missing. In addition to this, there is another problem of timeliness. Timeliness means that data is collected maybe 5 years earlier. By that time, many things might have changed. But unfortunately, I do not have any further data on that. So the accuracy is getting compromised. For example, census. Census last time was collected in 2011. After that, there was no census in our country. So once I just go to speak about some village, their population, number of households, area, etc. The only source that I have to resort to the villages, not one village, say several villages throughout the country, is the census information, which has all these details. But that was in 2011. Subsequently, many changes might have taken place. The village might have changed its boundary. The population will definitely change by that time. So this actually suffers timeliness. Next, we go to our main agenda, that is methods of collecting primary data. Now, here first method that we are going to study is the observation method. We have earlier seen as the last point that when we collect the primary data, we need to discuss about the way in which the data is collected. The way means here method. What method we are going to use? First comes the participant observation method. In the participant observation method, the person who wants to collect the information actually goes and participate with the individuals from whom the information is to be collected. He gets into that group without the knowledge that his basic purpose is to collect some information. Rather, he gets along with them in such a way that as if he or she is one of them. This is a way which anthropologists generally use to collect the data about communities which are little bit close to the general, correct, which is little bit close to the general world. So in that way, they collect the information in details about the group from which the information is to be collected. This is generally done when in-depth information is required and on different subjective methods. Simple numerical values does not solve the purpose. In that case, this participant observation method is used. Next comes non-participant observation method. In a non-participant observation method, you will see that the person who wants to collect the information does not participate or does not become a part of the population from whom the information is to be collected. Rather, he stays aloof and watches from the side what is going on, how things are going. Reporters generally collect the information using this way when they visit the field. They do not participate. Suppose there is a commotion between the police and the public. Now, the reporter goes there. He or she wants to collect the information. So obviously, he or she does not participate in the commotion. Rather from outside, he or she tries to collect the information. So this is the non-participant observation method. The members of the population might be aware of the fact that this individual is a non-participant. That means he's not a part of us, but is trying to collect some information. This is can be used when people are interested in collecting information from those groups which are open to discussion. Now, this is actually a good method of collecting information when informants are reluctant in providing the information, so that the individual who visits the group either through being a participant or being a non-participant method actually can collect the information from this. This gives a deeper insight into the study and it generally spreads over quite some time. Here, at some stage, the informant may become aware in case of participant observation method. The informant may become aware at some point of time that this individual is not here to be a part or not a part of us. Rather, he is trying to collect some information about us. This may create some difficulty for the enumerator in the process of collecting the information. And the observer also may become biased. The participant who actually is collecting information from the group through participant observation method or even through non-participant observation method, after looking at the difficulties faced by the population from whom he or she is collecting the information, might become biased to a greater extent. So the report produced or the information reported by such an enumerator may be in favor of the population from whom the information is collected. So this is one disadvantage of this method. Next comes information collected through local correspondents. This is a very cheap and economical method of collecting the information. This is generally practiced by newspaper agencies for collecting the information. Now let us look at a newspaper, say agency which is actually publishing a newspaper, say from the center of the country. Now, the country might be big and they might be interested to collect information from all different corners of the country. So, what they do is that they recruit some local correspondents who are actually posted in different corners of the country. And anything happening in that particular area, the local correspondent moves there and collect the information, takes the photograph, questions the people there, and report it back to the main agency at the center of the country. Now, this agency compiles the report obtained by several local correspondents from throughout the country and publish the newspaper in the next day. Because the issue with newspaper is that the information is required almost at real time. That means whenever something happens, that information is required, and the next day the information is to be delivered in the newspaper. So they require information at a very quick stage. So for that, this is what has to be done. So this data is not always reliable, and neither it might be accurate, because these local correspondents sometimes report in their own way. Their personal bias comes into play. Also, they want their report to be recorded. So, in some cases, small incidents might get exaggerated and presented in such a manner that people try to believe it, or people believes it. And the central agency publishing the report finds is interesting and find it's publishable. So, in order to do that, what they do is that they get this information collected and then reported in their own way with lot of spice, so that the thing becomes acceptable. Let us take an example. There was a boy called Prince. It is an incident in August 2006. He actually fall down in a well. The well did not have water in it, but he was playing in a ground where there was a well, and then somehow he actually fell down inside the well. After he fall down in the well, there were a lot of plants, weeds, etc. in that particular well. So he did not drop directly to the bottom, otherwise he would have died. But it was a quite deep well, but somehow he very slowly he went down because there were a lot of weeds and grasses and some trees also grew inside that particular well. So he reached the bottom of the well after some time. So he was not that much hurt, little bit injured might be, and he wanted to come out. Obviously, he was crying. His parents identified that he is inside the well. And then GTV started covering the incident. I don't know how they got the information. It was in some village in Haryana. But the GTV went there and they started to cover the incident. And then there the rescue operation started. Now, it was very difficult for someone to go inside the well because it was covered with so much of weeds and other things that the bottom portion was not visible. But the boy was crying from inside, and then they somehow managed to send a camera, tied the camera with a rope, and sent it inside. And the camera showed the photograph of the boy sitting inside the well at the bottom. And through some other ropes, they were sending biscuits, water, etc. to that boy. So the boy was eating the biscuits because he was feeling hungry, and drank the water and was surviving there. Indian army was called. They made another operation that by the side of the well they dig another well, and then at some point they make a digging in L pattern and entered into the well at some point where there were lesser number of weeds, and rescued the boy. The entire operation went live on GTV, and after that many people started to fall down in the wells here and there, and these started to get reported, and the reporters of that is the local correspondents started to create some such news and send it to the central agency, so that their news about someone falling into the well gets published, because that became a trend. Many people were falling down into the well. Here I can show you a photograph, interesting photograph. You see this girl going into the well, and some reporter here, you can see, not very clear, I was actually taking the photograph of the girl going down into the well. So this is an interesting way in which the local correspondents create news. So this is one disadvantage of this method. Next comes the questionnaire method of collecting primary data. So this is quite common, and I think many of you might have used this method as well. In this method, we have a list of questions. The list of questions pertaining to the survey is prepared. Before the list of questions pertaining to the survey starts, some personal information, contact details, and socio-economic information like gender, community, etc. are also collected. This is basically for the purpose of classification, and the contact information is to get back to the respondent once there is need of getting some information verified or during the process of scrutiny. So other than that, most of the questions are related to the area of interest or the subject concerned. And then this questionnaire list is prepared and it is sent to the respondent through post. Nowadays, postal deliveries have decreased subsequently, so it is easier to get to the individuals through email. So it may be sent through post, through email, or through personal delivery. Now, this questionnaire will have a covering letter. The covering letter will tell what is the purpose of the survey, why this information is collected, and there will be a disclaimer that the information collected will be used only as an aggregate and not individual information to be identified or made public in later on. This is an ethical practice which is very important. Now, this covering letter will have all necessary details so that the person, that is the respondent, finds it interesting and confident to perform in the survey, given that his information will not be made public. Then there will be the list of questions that is prepared one by one, generally personal information, then socio-economic information that is also called as classification information, and later on question pertaining to the area of study. So this list of questions will be following the covering letter. So the respondent will fill it up himself or herself without the help of any person from the investigating agency. Once this is done, this is actually sent back by the respondent to the person who is conducting the survey or the organization which is conducting the survey through post email or through personal delivery. Now, the respondents fill it up themselves without the help of any person from the organization. So each question should be properly detailed. If there are some technical terms, this needs an explanation maybe in the appendix of the questionnaire so that a person filling it up may read the appendix and get the point cleared. Now, this is quite popular and can cover a huge geographical area, and that's the reason why it can go beyond the boundaries of a country also, and that's the reason why this method is quite popular. But here it can be applied only if the respondents are literate. And also, if it is administered over email, then it is necessary that the person has an email ID and is regularly checking the email ID. Now, this person concerned, that is the respondent, after filling up the entire questionnaire, will send it back to the enumerator or the organization conducting the survey. But there are some advantage also in this method and some disadvantages also in this method. First advantage is that here the investigator or the organizing agency does not have a role or there is no way that they can manipulate the answer given by the respondent. So it is free from bias of the enumerator, investigator, or the agency conducting the survey. It can cover a huge geographical area and very less expensive. These days, because of email, it is almost free. That means the process of data collection is almost free, given that there is no compensation given to the respondent for providing the information. Now, this biasness of the investigator is also not there. So, these are some of the advantages. Disadvantage is one, as we already discussed, that the respondents need to be literate and computer savvy. Otherwise, it might be difficult to implement it. If not computer savvy, we can send it by post. But the respondent, after filling up the questionnaire or may not actually participate in the survey. So it is difficult to make him participate in the survey because this is having a high rate of non-response. Now it depends on the agency. Some people they are find it interesting to participate in a survey. They understand the information provided them is actually for the development of the organization or for the organization providing better service so that the if it is a service provider, then the quality of service will generally improve based on the outcome of the survey. So, but many people, even then, many people do not respond. But if this is a survey from an law enforcing agency, say income tax, a survey comes, then I will fill it up because I know that I may be in trouble. if I do not respond. So once it is not mandatory, many people might not respond, and there might be a huge area of non-response. So this is one big problem with the questionnaire. Also, another question is that the response is there, but many question remains unanswered. The respondent may not understand the question. What is the question? They might be the question he understands, he or she understands, but to answer the question, the individual might require some in-depth searching. For example, suppose a question is there: what were the salaries, last salary of the jobs that you have left? So in that case, if you ask me this question, I have left several jobs, so I have to go into those files and then search what was the last salary that I got from that organization. So this will take some time, say maybe about 10 to 15 minutes to answer your question. So I may not answer this question. So in case of a individual in between from the organizing agencies, these points may be clarified or just tell something approximate. So some he can also help, he or she, whoever is the enumerator, can may also help the respondent in reaching to the answer. Now these type of things are not there in a questionnaire method, and obviously there will be high degree of non-response, either complete non-response or partial non-response. Some questions I have answered, but many I did not answer, so this is partial non-response. Next come the schedule method. This schedule method is quite popularly used during the census. Here there is a questionnaire, but this questionnaire is called as a schedule because it is not actually in the form of a questionnaire. There are certain clues given, which and the respondent actually is visited by an enumerator who has the schedule with him. So enumerator with him or her. So this enumerator will ask the respondent and fill up the schedule himself or herself. So that means the list of questions will not go to the respondent. It will rather stay with the enumerator, and the enumerator will technically collect the information and fill it up. These enumerators are trained enumerators. They are given the training. They are explained the meaning of all the items in the list of questions, that is all the items in the schedule. So they don't confuse. Rather, they can explain to the respondent what is the meaning of different technical terms in very simple words, so that the respondent can answer. Now, this is actually very popular, especially if your respondents are not literate, or if the respondents are means have a very less level of literacy, so that they may not understand all the technical points in the questionnaire. Since the respondents are trained, so they are actually know how to collect the information. Sorry, since the enumerators are trained, so they know how to collect the information, how to motivate the respondent in providing the information. This is expensive, obviously, because this comes as a disadvantage of this method, because one side you are making the questionnaire, preparing the questionnaire, so you have to do all those things which is required to prepare a questionnaire. Questionnaire here is called a schedule. Secondly, you have to train all the respondents. So for the training purpose, you need resources. Once the training is over, then only you can send the respondent. So, sorry, enumerator to the respondent. So you need to provide the transportation cost also to the enumerator. Also, you need to give some compensation to the enumerator for the work they do. So this makes the entire issue very expensive, which is not there in the questionnaire method. But there are advantages also, as discussed earlier, especially in some personal questions, people might be shy. Now, if the enumerator is sincere and if the enumerator is properly trained, they will rather help the respondent to answer to these questions. Let me take an example of the National Family Health Survey. Now, National Family Health Survey has a column on uh, domestic violence also, because along though it is not a direct in the purview of health, but they have some information regarding domestic violence as well. Now, in those cases, people generally don't find it comfortable to speak on these issues. Now, if the enumerator is trained, the enumerator will actually may start with a story, an incident where they were also victims of domestic violence, and then actually motivate the respondent to participate in that discussion and provide information that the particular individual has become a victim of domestic violence, so that they can actually participate in discussion. So these are some of the advantages that we have. If some detailed information and serious information is required about a study, then schedule method is a very good method of collecting the data. Obviously it is very expensive, but this is the method. That's why this method is actually used during the census data collection in our country, because that way actually, because that is a very serious survey and as many information possible is to be collected. So this is the process through which we can go ahead in a schedule method. Here we have a example. This is this person you are seeing catching a mic. We assume that he is a enumerator. He has visited the respondent. This individual who is carrying a child, uh, he is the respondent. So this individual is trying to collect some information from this individual. Now, this enumerator is a trained enumerator. He has taken proper training. Now he asks the individual that how many children do you have? As you can see, this person have many children. He has a triplet. As you can see, they are the eldest, three babies born together. Then there is a girl child, as you can see here, and then one small baby in his back. So this enumerator is asking the questions: how many children do you have? Now the individual has five children, might have more also, but we can see five children. This respondent is little shy in telling that he has so many children. So what is telling that? He is telling that I have only one child. Now this does not have ignored the presence of the other children, and he is telling only one child. Now there is a these triplets. They are little bit foolish, but this girl is very smart, and she is telling that मम्मी पापा हमको पड़ोसी के बच्चे बता रहे हैं. That means he's this small child is small girl. She is telling that mother, uh, uh, Papa means father is telling that we are not his children, rather we are not your children, rather we belong to some children in the neighborhood. So this what the enumerator will understand is that the respondent is lying. Actually, he is telling out of because he is shy, so he is telling about only one child. Rather, he has five children. So, from the things that is happening in the environment, a trained enumerator will understand what thing to accept and what is to be rejected. Because many a times, because of prejudices, these respondents they actually provide some information which is not properly correct, like say academic qualification or salary. These are often overstated, but the enumerator, if trained, will take the help of some auxiliary information and will try to understand what is the reality. He may ask subsequent questions also based on this incident that is happening in front of him. He can further question the respondent that okay, you are telling one, but your baby is telling that you five, all the five children belong to you. What is your opinion? Then the person may tell that oh no, actually I am a little bit shy in telling. Yeah, so this way, a trained enumerator will actually collect the exact information. In addition to that, there is personal contact, touch between the two people, eye contact, etc., from which the enumerators, trained enumerators, can read a lot. Let us go to the last method, which is called as the interview method. In interview method, there is a there are different methods under this interview method. The first method is the direct personal interview. In a direct personal interview, the respondent is asked question by the investigator or the enumerator directly, and the necessary information is collected by him or her. This might be supported by a written note that this enumerator may note down what the investigator, so what the respondent is telling, or might be recorded. Either video or audio might be recorded. This is a form of direct personal interview. When we go for a job, we generally face an interview where there are many uh, people asking us the questions. They are subject experts in their own area of interest, and we are to answer the question. This is an example of direct personal interview where there is one respondent, but there are several enumerators. If you consider the subject experts and enumerator, then you can put it under a direct personal interview. But in the field of method of data collection, primary data, because we are concerned basically with the primary data collection for the field of research. So there actually we have one person who is taking the interview and one respondent who is given the reply. In some cases, we may have several respondent also. For example, in case of household surveys, when surveys conducted on a household, different people have information on different things. For example, the lady of the house who might be looking after the kitchen may have more information related to kitchen related affairs. The person who goes to the market may not be the owner of or the head of the household. Someone else might go to the market in his behalf. He might be paying it, but the purchasing might be done by a servant or his son, etc. So things that is purchased, to how much amount it is purchased, those information might be more with that individual, that is whoever goes to the market. So there are cases in direct personal interview where you have a particular individual taking information from a group of respondents. So this is also a, an example of direct personal interview, or you may tell this is the different variants of a direct personal interview. In an indirect personal interview is generally conducted when information is collected from a third party, uh, uh, because there is a doubt that either the first party or the second party involved might not provide the correct information, or they are not available for providing the information. Say there is a commotion between the police and the public on a particular issue. The public were actually protesting and they were also destroying public property, to which there was a lathi charge by the police. Now, a reporter comes and wants to collect information about this. Now, if they go and ask the police, in case the police responds to them, the police will put a picture where there was no other alternative but to charge the mob with the lathis, because they were just destroying the property. They were blocking the roads. They were not allowing ambulance to pass through. So etc. etc. And so accordingly, these were not actually. There was no other way but to charge them with the lathi. If you ask the same question to the public, they will give you a different picture. They will tell that we were protesting in a very non-violent way. We were blocking the road, fine, but we are allowing all emergency services to pass by. We were just giving slogans. We were not in the mood of destroying any public property. And so, but suddenly the police came and they started to beat us up with sticks. Now, these will confuse the respondent, because the respondent will be not be able to reach the truth. Talking to both the parties, he or she will be of the opinion that both of them are correct, and this is the confusing state. In such a case, what happens? You need to collect the information from someone else who is not directly related to the incident. That is neither the police nor the public, but someone, uh, some onlooker who might be watching those things from outside without participating either from party one or from party two. For example, you may ask a panwala, because whenever there is crowd, you will find that some pan seller, some vendors will attend those gatherings so that they can sell their product. So this is quite common in our country. Now, when this type of one such vendor is panwala, who comes with pan, cigarette, etc., and sell it to the people who are objecting or who are in the participating in the mob. Now, they actually know what is the situation, what has happened, because they are neutral to party one or party two. So, such people will provide you better information than from a direct personal interview of party one or party two. So, in such incidents where there is a chance that information might be compromised by the parties, a direct personal interview often becomes very successful. Next comes the structured interview. In a structured interview, there is a list of questions which is prepared by the investigator or the organization conducting the survey. And they want that the investigator might actually question on all of this. Uh, they actually, so in a way, it seems like a direct personal interview, but the question that is asked is already predetermined. This might be from the side of the investigator or his organization, or this might be from the side of the respondents. The respondents may earlier take the list of questions and may tell that these questions needs to be eliminated. I will not be in a position to answer these questions. So these are all examples of structured interview. If you listen to Vivid Bharati, earlier there you used to listen to a program, and the name of that program is Celluloid K Sitare. That means a star from cinema. So some personality related to Indian cinema were invited, and they were asked a set of questions. Now, when I listened to this program for several weeks, I found that a list of questions generally were the same. Since this is a radio program and they used to play music in between the interview, so these questions were generally related to musical mm, some musical connection is there, like which one is your best song, which is the best song that is picturized on you, or if the person is a music director, you have actually produced lot of good music. Out of this, which particular song or which particular music you would remind or you would recall every time some such questions, which particular song or which particular music which you did not create but you like most, is there any old music which has inspired you? So some such questions were asked to almost all of them. So that is an example of structured questionnaire, so that in between they can play those songs and entertain the audience. So this is how structured interview goes on. Unstructured interview is a way in which information is collected without the knowledge of the respondent. Now, there are different methods using this. Progressive method is one such method where actually I tell you or put you into a situation or tell you a story which is no way related to you, but I want to collect some information about that aspect which I know that you have encountered. And if I ask you personally, you might not tell the truth. So, for example, suppose there is something called as workplace readiness. Now, what is workplace readiness? Many of us, we actually go to work after our studies. Now, I may work in a bank, but I may not have proper training how to work in a bank, how to deal with the public. After getting the job, they might have given us some training, but these are training might not be so much useful, or might not be. I might not be so much mindful, or I need to find out that how much attentive I was. So, if I am attentive, if I attend the training, and the real situation might be different from what training was pertaining to me. So the question comes, how much I am workplace ready? For example, a nurse, how much she is workplace ready, because she has taken the course of nursing, she has done the practicals also. Now she is independently working in a hospital, given an independent charge of a particular cell, say intensive care unit. So this particular nurse might not have previous experience of working in an ICU. She might be having some secondary or tertiary experience. Now, with that, she has to come. Now, if she is workplace ready, if she knows how to deal with the patients, how to understand that this is an emergent situation, what to do in case of emergency, all these things, then that individual is workplace ready. Now, if you ask any professional that when you joined the job after doing your college, were you workplace ready? Maybe this question may be asked to a teacher, maybe to a nurse, maybe to a doctor, where they actually practical situations they are facing, or an engineer. Now, most of the people will tell that yes, I was workplace ready. I did my college studies very sincerely. Later on, when I got the job, we were given the training. I was very up and doing during the training. I attended all the sessions and all the practical classes that were given to me. I was very sincere. I interacted with the resource persons time and again, so that all my doubts are cleared. And so I was workplace ready. So when I started my work, I was neither confused nor I was tense. Rather, I was very much motivated to start a good work, and I did it. This is what people will generally tell. How many of them will actually tell the truth, especially to a respondent who is more or less unknown? Then the situation is that the truth is not coming out. Rather, what you can do is that you can show them a film, or tell a story about a person of his or her profession or from some other profession who has joined a particular job after training and then are facing some issues, some problems, some hiccups, something good also he or she is doing, but I show a movie on that. And then I ask the individual to give response to that. Now, based on this response, we can understand how much this person is workplace ready. So this is a type of unstructured interview, which is not going in the traditional way as the interview goes on. In addition to that, there are some unstructured interviews where the course of discussion actually decides how the interview is to be conducted. We start with a point and then there is no written question. Depending on the answer of the respondent, we ask some more question and then this way there is no unstructured. At the end of the day, when the interview is over, we find that we have collected a lot of information, but unstructured interview, when performed over groups of people one by one, you might find that the type of information has gone different. Means so such studies might not be used for an aggregate analysis, but individual, if need to be analyzed, can definitely come out through unstructured interviews. Next comes telephonic interviews. In telephonic interviews, the interview is administered over a telephone. So you receive a telephone from an unknown number, and this individual asks you some questions about some product that you have purchased or about some services that you have consumed or is about to take a particular service. Then the person may take your telephonic interview. Now, these interviews has become, though it was earlier at a point of time very effective, but now it has lost its efficiency. One reason because of this cyber fraud, because a lot of phones come to you and in the name of some information, in the name of some trouble or perceived trouble, they try to loot you, take money out of your account. So people are these days very scared to talk to unknown numbers. So this has suddenly lost its relevance. Otherwise, this is a very good technique of collecting information because huge geographical area can be covered and not very expensive, just the expense of a phone call. Nowadays, most of the service providers having an unlimited call facility also. So if you take that particular plan, then you can actually contact many people. But the question is that such telephonic interviews, the questions need to be short and the question need to be very much relevant. I tell you one interesting story. One day after purchasing my first car, I received a call. And the lady identified herself as a calling from the call center of that particular company whose car I purchased, and also told that this is for a survey on getting my feedback about the car. Now she was using a 7 points or 8 point or 10 point scale, and she was giving me all the options that how was the interior of the car. It was very poor, poor, average, good, very good, excellent, mind blowing, like this. So now these points, that means a scale with verbal descriptors. Now this is very difficult to answer because you might forget all the options that she is telling. And I was telling that please repeat the questions, and she was repeating the question, and along with that, she was telling all the options. After asking two, three questions, she aborted from the survey because she was finding very difficult to handle. Now, this is not the way in which the question is to be asked. The question is to be asked that how did you feel about the interior of the car? Give a number between 1 to 10, where 1 is the worst and 10 is the best. So that way it is easier to implement. In telephonic interview, people don't enjoy talking a lot of time in the telephone. So the telephonic interviews need to be short and very simple to answer, like a answer in a 5 point scale or a 10 point scale, which actually matches the time frame and the convenience of the respondent. Now, whenever there is an interview, basically you can go for a broad classification. You can find that the broad classification is that some interviews are conducted in such a way that the person collecting the information is not coming in contact with you. And some information are there where the individual is coming in contact with you, like interview method, direct personal investigation, etc. Now, in these methods, what happens when the person comes in direct contact with you, you find a confidence to participate in the survey, because you can see the individual, you can look at the questionnaire, you can look at the individual's eye card, and you can shake hands with the individual, you can make an eye contact in the individual. So as a respondent, you feel motivated to participate in the survey if you find that this information provided or is really of some, will be really of some use, because you need to see an individual. In telephonic interview, which has become very risky, or through questionnaires which comes to you by email or through post, you don't see the respondent and may not get the motivation to participate in the information. And from the respondent side, there also no chance of actually getting the truth extracted out, no way in which they can motivate you to participate in the survey. So that is the what is the difference between these two classification. However, direct personal interview means, I mean, when the particular individual collecting the information come to you, they need to be properly trained. You just can't send anyone as an investigator to conduct a survey. And this will make the entire issue time consuming as well as expensive. Let me tell you one interesting incident. Like one investigator going to a household, which was this joke was a very famous joke related to survey, later on used in some movies also. Now this investigator went to a house, knocked the door, a lady came out. Now she asked the lady, because that was the format of his questionnaire, his schedule, that are you married? Now the lady told that I am not married. Then he asked the question that how many children do you have? Now, in an Indian context, this is not a very relevant question, because a person who is unmarried or a lady who is unmarried is not expected to have children. That is the societal norms. Might not be so in some other countries where people may have children without marriage also. But in our country, that is the general societal standard. The lady was asked that are you married? She told no. Next question was how many children do you have? With this, the lady became very angry and she slapped the enumerator. The enumerator, and was obviously no further communication took place between the respondent and the enumerator. So the enumerator went back to his or her uh, 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 office and reported it to the authority. The authority told that you had made a mistake. You should have asked the second question first, because second question first means you should ask how many children do you have. Then the guard would have told, no, no, I am not married, how to have children. So, and the discussion would have continued. Now, next day he went, the investigator went, knocked the door. A lady came out from another house. Now, that lady happened to be a very senior lady. So, she was asked the second question first, that how many children do you have? She told that I have four children. Then he noted down, okay, four children. Then he asked the first question, that are you married? Now, obviously, since she have children, she must be married as per societal norms. Once again, he got a good thrashing from the respondent, because the respondent already had four children, so it is obvious that she is married. Now, there was no point on asking this question, but he asked and got slapped. So, this does not happen when you use a trained enumerator. Trained enumerator looking at the means uh, respondent will actually design, frame his question, decide the order of the questions, because he is not, or he or she who is the respondent will not act as a robot, but will use his or her own logic, intellect, and perform the survey. So these are different methods of collecting primary data. I hope you have enjoyed watching the video. Thanks a lot.